Here's why I think Ant Middleton shouldn't be London Mayor. Now, these are my views, and I don't know Ant Middleton. I know a lot of SF guys, but never once has he come up in conversation. So I don't know him or anyone that's ever spoken about him positively or negatively. And I genuinely mean that. So we're actually very similar. He's about 6 years younger than me, but he came from the same town, Waterlooville, in North Portsmouth, just over Portsdown Hill. So we probably went to similar schools. He went into the military, I went into the military. A lot of things are, you know what I mean, very similar. So I haven't got an axe to grind. I haven't got a dog in this fight at all. All I will say about Ant Middleton is I don't think his character is sound. And I want to talk a little bit about this. And what we're going to do is base it purely on something called facts. So I'm not going to pretend I know anything, and I'm not going to leverage anything from it. So let me talk to you about the facts about Ant Middleton. And in the comments, guys, you just write up what you think, because I do think we need a strong mayor in London. Obviously, London is 37% white British. This is a big problem, heavily Muslim orientated, of course, which is why Sadiq Khan is in there. And Sadiq Khan's going to be going for his 4th term. This is why standing someone strong against Sadiq Khan is important. I don't think that's Middleton. Now, I do think Middleton is a good brand. His branding is excellent when it comes to books and the SAS Who Dares Wins stuff and everything else. He's very good at the self-publicizing, and I don't take anything away from him at all. Let's fill in some blank spaces that a lot of people probably don't know or aren't aware of. For example, and in order for Ant to actually be the London mayor, he has to have primary residency in London, and he doesn't have that. It can't be a second home. He needs to actually live there. He needs to be on the electoral roll. So somehow they've got to get him in a house in London for at least 6 months before he's eligible to be London mayor. There's other terms as well. I'll thrash them up on the screen right now and you can have a look at them. He hasn't got many of those things though. He hasn't got anything there. Now, what he does have though is a criminal conviction that he has served. I'm a big fan of saying, look, you've done the crime, you've done the time, let's forget about it. But I'm not the person that's going to be voting for him because I don't live in London, right? So it doesn't matter what I think. Genuinely, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think, especially if you're in London. Hit the comments and tell me whether you think you're going to vote for Middleton, because I think it's quite important. So let's say Ant is standing. Now, Ant did back in 2014, so about 10 years ago, he had an altercation in an Essex nightclub where he assaulted 2 police officers, one of whom was a woman. Now, he went on the run very briefly, handed himself in. He says it was alcohol fueled. He's very apologetic. But he was sentenced to, I believe it was 13 months in prison. I've got no notes, guys. This is all from memory, of which he served 4, which is pretty standard, by the way. Then came out. And since then, of course, he's done very well, hasn't he, on the TV scene and everything else. Don't get me wrong. SAS Who Dares Wins. He went to Australia, all that kind of stuff. Now, he was dropped in 2021 by Channel 4, I believe it was, for comments he made. There was some stuff I read somewhere, I think it was Wikipedia, about lewd behaviour towards the females on staff, but other people say it was banter. And in the military, what we call banter can be seen as, you know, it can be seen as very different in the outside world. So I'm not saying anything about Middleton there as well. I haven't got, as I said, I haven't got a dog in this fight whatsoever. But he was sacked, and then he obviously went and did the SAS Australia thing. And we know he said a few things, didn't he, about what was going on at the time. He said some things about BLM, and he said things about EDL, comparing the two. But we all say stupid things. And I mean that. I say stupid things all the time, right? Don't get me wrong. What else? Oh, yeah. So in 2020, late 2024, early 2025, he was banned from being, him and his wife were banned from being directors for companies in the UK by the Insolvency Service, I believe it was, because they owed over £1 million worth of tax and VAT to HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. And if I remember correctly, that was on about £4.5 million worth of earnings. Well done, Ant, by the way. However, he agreed to pay back 300,000 of it. Let me get that right. Yeah, he owed £1 million. He agreed to pay back 300,000, I believe it was. Oh no, I know why that was now. I forgot about this. No, he'd given himself a director's loan. I've got a company. I'd never do this, by the way. He gave himself a director's loan of £3 million from the company. That was right. So he made £4.5 million, gave himself a director's loan of £3.5 million worth of company. Then I believe he didn't pay any of that back, collapsed the company. So he owed that money. And because the government didn't get any money from it, they said, well, let's make a deal. And he paid 10% of that. Now, that money is money that would have gone to schools, hospitals, all that kind of stuff. That's not there anymore. So what I'm saying here, guys, is Ant's got a few things to answer, isn't he? You know what I mean? However, again, he doesn't live in the UK as well. That's a big problem. So when we talk about Ant being a massive patriot of the UK, he did move to Dubai. In fact, he sold his house in Essex to try and pay off this 300 grand, which I believe he did. And he moved to Dubai. Some people say he's on the Gold Coast in Australia as well. He's been seen out in America. But you've got a man talking about how much the UK means to him, but he's not living here. So for me personally, I think that we've got an issue with discipline, honour, personal standards, a lot of other things. I'm just going to quickly throw this ad in here, guys, because we can all check our biases through this. I use this all the time, by the way.
A quick advert for Ground News, who sponsor this channel, luckily, because YouTube ain't giving me no money, fam. You know what I'm talking about. All the stories you'll find on the front page here that are current. However, you can search for stuff in the bar at the top. When you click on a story, then it will show you here, look, what's left-leaning, centre, or right-leaning. It's a right-leaning story. Let's click on it. And then straight away it gives you a summary at the top there. All the stories here, down there. You can even expand it for more articles if you want at the bottom. On the right here, it shows that there's 34 articles. There's 5 left, 14 right, and then there's 5 centre. Below it then, the bias distribution shows that this is a right-leaning article, and you can see here Fox News, Israel, all that kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? Here, factuality, expand that. You can see which ones are more factually correct than others, and so you can see who owns it as well. Where are your biases in this? Click on the article if you want. You'll go straight to that website then, and at the top you can see there's a bar that drops down as well, again showing where these biases are. You can then look at left-leaning articles and right-leaning articles and not get sidetracked by the mainstream media. 40% off. Thank me later.
And also that ad, thank you for watching, does help the channel. So let's talk about then what is going to happen if Ant was to be the Mayor of London. Now, the Mayor of London is also the Police and Crime Commissioner, the PCC, who answers to the Police Commissioner, basically, and just make sure everything's in order, you know what I mean? But the Mayor sort of doubles up as that. Sadiq Khan is that right now, the PCC. Now, the issue is you're responsible then for basically holding the Police Commissioner, the Met Police Commissioner, the head of all the Met Police, all the London Police. You're responsible for sort of holding them to account and that kind of stuff. Now, how does a man that's assaulted 2 police officers and served time for it, by the way, how can he possibly advise the police or hold the police to account? The police will look at him and go, sorry, mate, you're not valid to us. You know, you've punched one of our female police officers, and a male police officer, by the way. Well, that's another thing, isn't it? Hitting a woman. I don't understand that really, but that's just one of those things, isn't it? That's obviously something that Ant understands better than me. But what I'm saying is I haven't got an axe to grind this whatsoever. However, I've never hit a woman before. You know what I mean? I've never hit a police officer before. And people watching this video also are the same. We haven't done that. But Ant has. Now, there's this big thing in the UK at the moment where people say, better the devil you know. In effect, what they're saying is anyone's going to be better than Sadiq Khan. And I do not deny that. I loathe Sadiq Khan. I think that man should be in jail. I literally do. The way he talks to Susan Hall as well in the London Assembly it just shows his misogyny and his absolute disdain for women. You know, so don't get me wrong. I'm not a massive fan of Sadiq Khan whatsoever. And who else are we going to have in? But it's almost like it doesn't really matter who we have in as the London mayor. It's never going to change anything because London isn't British anymore. So maybe Middleton is the best thing that we can hope for, to go to London and become the mayor. Hit the comments, because how do we kind of square this circle? Do you know what I'm saying? I want someone who is fully disciplined, has full integrity, standards, honour, like someone like Rupert. I feel Rupert Lowe is that, and I know Rupert's got, you know, skeletons as well, but that kind of man or that kind of woman, I just want someone who has paid their taxes. I want someone that does live in the UK. I want someone who hasn't assaulted police, preferably someone that hasn't been in prison, but it doesn't say that's a bar for entry at all. And I understand why that, because I said at the very beginning of this recording, guys, if you do the crime, you do the time, top, happy, top, mate, no worries. I've got, honestly, you've served, you've gone and you've done your time. Like, you've repaid society. Well, technically society's paid a lot of money to keep you in prison, but let's say you've served the debt you owe to society. So here I am saying, I don't think Ant Middleton is of good character. But then I'm also thinking, it doesn't matter. It's a London mayor. Boris Johnson was London mayor. Sadiq Khan was London mayor. I mean, does it matter if you're a good character? London kind of almost deserves a bad character. You know, if you're from London, that probably impacts you a little bit. But what I mean is, it doesn't feel when I'm there like an English city. It doesn't feel like a British city. So who cares? It won't affect the rest of us. It doesn't affect me. I can't vote Middleton in. I can't vote Sadiq Khan in for his 4th term. So why should I even be talking about it? Shut up, Tim. All right, calm down. I know, you know what I mean? But it's YouTube, isn't it? So let me know what you think about it, guys. I think there's some serious flaws there in a personality who is very driven, and he's very interested in himself and his own brand, which is a very good popular brand. I'd also just sort of have a think about you as a person, and I've thought about this as me as well. Like, why do we push for characters like this? Because when the revolution comes, it's never going to be one that we want. Do you understand what I mean? There's going to be characters that are nefarious. Their intent is not sound, and we've got to kind of work with them, else we're never going to get the change we want. I don't believe that politics is the answer anyway. I couldn't care less really whether Middleton goes into become the mayor in London or not. It won't affect anything I do. But I just think it would show that the character of people in the country, the judgment of those people, I think probably needs to be questioned a little bit. Because I think when we're putting someone in to these kind of positions, anyone who is a fine, upstanding citizen who cares about the people of that particular city would be better than Ant Middleton, and most definitely better than Sadiq Khan. Because Ant has proven that he doesn't, if you're not living in the UK, I've got a big thing about this, and you know I have. If you're not living in the UK, talk about it by all accounts, but you're not living it. You know what I mean? So what you're saying isn't colourful. It's not tangible. It's not real. It's a viewpoint that's austere and remote. And I know I get lots of hate for that, but there are people I speak to that are walking the streets here and having a really, really rough time. And I think they deserve someone to be their mayor in London that is better, that has higher standards than I think Middleton has. Saying that, as I said, I've got a lot of SF mates that I could ask about him. I haven't asked, so because I didn't want to colour this tape with my mate says, you know what I mean? Because that's wrong, because I'm sure he's a lovely bloke, and I'm sure, we've all done silly things in the past. I just think we need, as a country, to start thinking about who we want representing us, and those people should be of decent character, and I don't believe that Middleton is. That's it.